My name is Ashley. I might look like just another senior at Park Springs High School, but trust me, I'm in a league of my own. While everyone else is worried about algebra grades or cafeteria drama, I'm busy building an empire. I'm a beauty and lifestyle influencer, and my life revolves around filters, perfect angles, and engagement rate. To me, this school is just a backdrop for my content, and the other students are just my audience. One morning, I stood in front of my locker, ignoring the noise and chaos of the hallway. My eyes were glued to the glowing screen of my phone, and I could feel the anticipation bubbling in my chest. I was watching the follower count tick up, digit by digit, practically holding my breath. 98, 99, just one more person. And then, finally, it happened. 200,000 followers. I couldn't help but smirk, tilting my chin up with a deep sense of satisfaction. It looked like I was really making a mark on the world. But to be honest, was it actually surprising? Not really. I told myself that it was obvious a girl like me would get loads of attention. I tossed my hair over my shoulder with a confident flick of my wrist, feeling absolutely fantastic. I slammed my locker shut and turned around to face the corridor. I was the hottest beauty and lifestyle influencer at Park Springs High School. I had it all, the beauty and the brains, and nobody could tell me otherwise. Just as I was basking in my own glory, I spotted Ben standing by his locker down the hall. He was holding a small wrapped gift in his hand. Ben was the school's resident nerd and, more importantly, my #1 fanboy. He was always trailing behind me, offering to carry my books or surprising me with little gifts, random groceries or snacks that I happened to mention I liked. I couldn't really blame him though. In his eyes, I was basically his queen, and he was just happy to serve. I walked over to him, expecting his usual eager greeting. I asked him casually why I hadn't seen him waiting at my locker like usual. To my surprise, he jumped like he'd seen a goat. He frantically hid the present behind his back, acting guilty. His behavior was so bizarre that I had to ask him if he was okay. But he wouldn't even look me in the eye. He just stared at his shoes and stuttered, mumbling something about being out of money that day. That was odd. Why would he say that? I told him to wait a minute and not to say things like that, because people might hear him and think I was mugging him or something. I reminded him that I never actually asked him for those groceries and random little items he always brought me. He just nodded nervously, mumbled a quick apology, and then scurried away down the hall before I could say anything else. Okay, that was definitely weird, but things got even stranger a moment later. I overheard Christine whispering loudly to her friends nearby. She was the school's biggest gossip, who always knew everyone's secrets before they did. So of course my ears perked up when I heard them talking. Christine was saying that an anonymous singer on Instagram had just revealed her fate, and her follower count had skyrocketed to a whopping 500,000. My stomach dropped. 500,000? That was more than double what I had just celebrated. But the real shocker came when she mentioned who it was. Apparently, this internet sensation went to our school. It was that invisible nobody from my biology class, Della. Before I could even process the news, the hallway suddenly got loud. Della hurried past me, clutching a book to her chest like a shield. She looked terrified, but she wasn't alone. A whole flock of students was following her, holding their phones up to take pictures and begging her to sing for them. I even heard some of the boys tripping over themselves, offering to drive her home after class. I rolled my eyes so hard it almost hurt. Please. What were they thinking? She was just Stella. It was ridiculous how easily people were impressed. All she did was hide her face and sing. These people were acting like she was a celebrity, but to me, she was still just the girl who sat in the back of the class and never said a word. They were treating a pebble like a diamond, and I simply wasn't buying. I followed the noise into the biology classroom. It was a circus. Stella was trying to hide her face with one hand while using the other to block people from snapping pictures. Then, of course, she dropped her book. She could play the fragile, confused victim for these losers, but she wasn't fooling me. The whole oops, I dropped my book scenario was so overrated. It was a classic desperate move. But then I saw something that actually made my blood boil. Ben was practically tripping over himself to rush in and pick it up for her. What a traitor. I marched right up to them and yelled Ben's name to get his attention. I demanded to know where my homework was. My voice must have been pretty scary, because the flock of fanboys looked terrified and immediately dispersed. Ben still wouldn't meet my eyes. He kept his head low, acting like a kicked puppy. He couldn't even come up with a decent lie, only some lame excuse about going out the night before. That was total baloney. I had literally just heard him offer to help Stella with her homework. I was so annoyed, and guess what? Stella, still keeping up her little Miss Shy facade, told Ben that she could write her own essay. I couldn't believe it. Did she think she was Beyoncé or something? Acting all high and mighty like she was too good for help. I was furious. If she wanted a taste of fame so bad, fine. As a senior in this field who knew all about the downsides, I decided it was time to teach her some manners. After that, I didn't even have to play dirty or make up rumors. All I did was keep the spotlight focused on her. That's the dark side of the fame game that I know so well. Once you get everyone's attention, the admiration turns into judgment really fast. It didn't take long. Soon, the excited whispers turned into giggles and nasty pointing. She had to start wearing a big hoodie to hide half her face, walking through the halls with her shoulders hunched in anxiety. I watched it all with a smirk. To be honest, I knew that paranoid feeling all too well. It's that sensation where you obsess over why people keep giving you odd looks. Now it was her turn. Then one day, I was putting my books back in my locker when I glimpsed someone running past me, sobbing. It was Stella. She dropped a crumpled piece of paper as she ran. I picked it up. It was a note that said, "If I were you, I wouldn't have shown up at school ever again. You're a joke." Gosh, do people actually say things like that? I mean, I can be mean, but this was way too harsh even for me. Suddenly, Ben appeared from behind. He saw the note in my hand and asked what happened. He stopped for a second to read the nasty message over my shoulder. He muttered, "For God's sake," under his breath, looking completely disgusted, and then immediately took off running to chase after Stella. My heart sank a little. He didn't think I was the one who wrote that, did he? From that day on, everything changed. Ben completely ignored me. It was like I didn't exist. Worse, he was constantly glued to Stella's side, comforting her while people continued to talk behind her back. I watched them from down the hall, grinding my teeth. I was so annoyed. I was supposed to be the one he cared about, not her. One day, I was sitting on the bench in the girls' changing room, just tying my shoelaces, when I heard a phone buzzing from the other side of the lockers. I peeked around the corner and saw some cheerleaders trying to guess the passcode on someone's phone. Right at that moment, Stella stepped out of the shower stall. That phone must have been hers because she instantly got upset and tried to get her phone back. But honestly, this wallflower didn't stand a chance. She couldn't make them budge an inch. Watching them corner her like that actually made my stomach turn. I mean, I love drama, but violating someone's privacy in a changing room? That was a line you shouldn't cross. I sighed. Fine, I decided to help her, but only this one time. I stormed over and put on my best furious act. I yelled at Stella, calling her a tattletale, and asking if she thought she ran the place now just because she was popular. I demanded she go tell Ben that I wasn't the one who put that nasty note in her lock. To make my point, I snatched the phone right out of the cheerleader's hands and tossed it to Stella. Then I told her to call him, or better yet, run to the bleachers and tell that nerd right now. Stella looked totally puzzled. She clearly didn't understand that I was saving her, so I glared at her and pointed to the door, telling her to go. She finally got the message and ran straight for the exit. The cheerleaders were still standing there, staring at me in confusion. I just snapped at them, asking what they were looking at, and they quickly scattered. I followed Stella out to the football field's bleachers, and sure enough, I found Ben comforting her. Again, I walked up and interrupted them, asking if she was bad-mouthing me. Ben looked up and said that actually, Stella was just telling him that I didn't write the note. I slapped my forehead. Could she be any more foolish? How could she not realize I only said that to save her back then? I asked her if she was really just going to bluntly do whatever I told her to do. Ben shook his head and told Stella not to mind. He said that was just who I was, a bit rough, but not a bad person to get on friendly terms with. I immediately shut that down. I told him flatly that I didn't need friends, and I meant I had learned that lesson the hard way. Back in my early days on Instagram, the only friend I truly trusted posted a video of me changing in the school's shower stall just to get a bit of internet attention. I still had my undershirt on, thank God, but it taught me a cruel lesson about friendship and fame. When you're famous, people always want something from you. Trust was a luxury I couldn't afford anymore. Then I looked Stella dead in the eye and warned her not to trust anyone at all. Stella quietly nodded, looking absolutely terrified. Suddenly, a male voice called out her name from afar. Stella's mood lit up instantly, like someone had just flipped a switch. She completely forgot about my warning and ran straight to him. I sat down next to Ben and asked him who that guy was. Ben watched them with a weird look on his face and explained that it was Liam, Stella's friend from the music club. Then he murmured to himself that they looked good together. I felt a spike of irritation. I asked him if he was jealous or something. Over that plain girl? Seriously? I looked over at them and saw Liam gently stroke Stella's hair. Her face turned bright red, but Ben didn't say anything else. He just blankly stared at them. It hit me then he never looked at me like that before. Now that I was no longer the Instagram queen, it seemed I was no longer his queen either. I sighed, feeling a heavy weight settle in my chest. It was true. There really was no one I could trust. A few days later, the school was buzzing. It was the big football final against our rival school, and Stella had been chosen to sing the national anthem. It was a huge deal. Even the mayor and a local TV station showed up. Ben was working as part of the AV team that day. Before the game started, some random guy came up to me and said Ben wanted to talk to me in the control room. I figured I had nothing better to do, so I headed up there. I just hoped he didn't want to talk about Stella again. But when I got to the AV room, it was empty. No, Ben, that was weird. I looked at the monitors on the wall. The screen showed Stella stepping up to the podium, looking all nervous and ready to sing. I watched, waiting for her voice, but instead of a soothing melody, a string of horrible, distorted sounds screeched out of the speaker. What was going on? Suddenly, the door burst open behind. Ben barged in, looking frantic. He stopped dead when he saw me standing there. He asked what I was doing there, looking totally stunned to see me. Before I could answer, he pushed me aside and frantically started messing with the soundboard. A minute later, the screeching stopped, the audio went back to normal, and and Stella was able to restart the song. But the damage was already done. Ben gave me a sharp, accusing look and practically dragged me behind the bleachers. There we found Stella, still trembling after her disastrous performance. With Liam holding her close, his arms wrapped tightly around her. Ben didn't waste a second. He told Stella right to her face that I was the one who messed with her microphone. I felt my jaw drop. Seriously? How could he think I was capable of something that low? But then Liam stepped in. He told everyone to calm down and suggested it could have just been a technical error. Whatever. I didn't want to be there, so I turned to leave, but Liam quickly caught up with me. I was confused to see why would he try to chase after me. Wasn't he supposed to stay with Stella? They always acted like a couple. I asked him about it, but he immediately denied it. He claimed they were just acquaintances from the music club. Then he lowered his voice and put on a flirtatious act. He told me he'd been wanting to get closer to me for a while because in his eyes, I was the true Instagram queen, not Stella. Whoa, this guy was a top-class jerk. Just a minute ago, he had his hands all over Stella, and now he was trying to leech onto me. He leaned in, trying to kiss me on the cheek. I quickly dodged him. Over his shoulder, I caught a glimpse of Stella watching us with a dark, gloomy look on her face. She looked jealous. Yikes, that was my cue to leave, so I shoved Liam away and hurried back to the school building. I didn't sleep well that night. All this stress was terrible for my skin. The next morning, I was making my way down the corridor, still half asleep, when Stella suddenly stormed up to me. I was totally caught off guard. Before I knew it, a crowd had started to form around us, whispering and waiting for the drama. Stella's eyes were welling up with angry tears. She screamed at me, accusing me of deleting her Instagram account. She claimed I did it, because I was jealous that Ben had left me for her. Ben rushed up behind her a second later. I asked her what she was talking about. I told her I had nothing to do with her stupid account. I admitted that yeah, I gossiped about her to mess with her a bit, but that was all. I looked around and saw the crowd staring at me, their eyes like daggers. They had already decided I was guilty. Desperate, I turned to Ben and asked if he thought I did it too, but he just stood there and refused to meet my eyes. I stood there in total disbelief. Did he just ignore me? Ben, my so-called loyal fanboy, was turning his back on me right when I needed him the most. And what was Stella talking about? I never did anything to her account. Why would she make that up? Was she really that jealous just because she saw Liam hitting on me yesterday? My phone buzzed in my pocket, snapping me out of my spiral. I pulled it out to see an unexpected message from Liam. He told me not to worry because he had my back and asked to meet at 8 p.m. in the park. This shameless, two-faced jerk. What was he up to this time? I smelled a rat, but I also saw an opportunity to clear my name. So after class, I didn't go home. Instead, I snuck over to Stella's locker and slid a note inside. I made it look like it was from Liam, promising a surprise and asking to meet at the park at 8 p.m. I arrived at the park gate right on time. Liam was already there waiting for me. He immediately started putting on this simping act, looking at me like he was madly in love or something. It was nauseating. He told me he could help me prove my innocence, but he only asked for one tiny favor, in return that I become his girlfriend. He even winked growth. I decided to play along to get the truth out of him. I asked him how he could possibly do that. He smirked and said it was simple. We could just pin the blame on someone else. Then he suggested Ben. He told me I didn't have to do anything, that I could just let his buddies handle it, and then he pulled me into his arms. I wanted to barf, honestly, but I had to stay cool to figure out what he was hiding. I pretended to flirt back and asked for details on his master plan. He bragged that he already had all the evidence. When I pressed him, he finally admitted it. He told me that he was the one who deleted Stella's account, and he knew exactly how to frame someone else for it. That was the signal. Stella jumped out from behind a nearby bush, screaming at him in shock. Liam looked like he'd been struck by lightning. His face went pale, and before he could even stutter an excuse, he turned and ran away like a coward. Stella dropped to her knees, still shaking. She looked up at me and admitted that she had let jealousy blind her. When she saw Liam flirting with me, she just lost it and blamed. I sat down on the grass facing her. I told her not to be so hard on herself. That guy was clearly a master manipulator who knew exactly how to pit us against each other. And just to be clear, I added that he was so not my type. We both actually laughed at that. Then Stella looked at me with a curious expression and asked who my type was. She guessed it might be someone like Ben. I paused. My first instinct was to deny it, to laugh it off like I always did. But then I thought about the last few days, the silence when I walked down the hall, the lack of his goofy smile. It wasn't just that I missed having a fanboy to carry my book. I realized that he was the only person who had ever looked at me with so much affection. And losing that actually hurt. I laughed bitterly. I told her he was such an idiot that he'd never realize I had feelings for him. But I didn't notice Ben walking up behind me, and Stella didn't say a word to warn me. I just kept talking, admitting that she was more his type than I was. I was so caught up in my own emotions that I felt tears start pricking my eye. I was trying hard to hold them back. Suddenly, a familiar voice spoke up from right behind me. Ben stuttered my name and said he didn't mean to hurt me like that. I spun around, shocked to see him standing there. I felt my face heat up, probably turning a shade of red that no amount of foundation could cover. I stammered, asking him if he had been there the entire time. Ben turned just as red as I was. He admitted that, yeah, he had heard it all, including the part about me having feelings for him. He shyly scratched the back of his head, but then his expression turned serious. He started pouring his heart out, explaining that it wasn't what I thought. He told me he wasn't into Stella in that way. He explained the whole mess. Apparently, he had seen Stella singing at a coffee shop and realized right away that she was his favorite anonymous singer on Instagram. So in his excitement, he sort of revealed her identity online. One thing led to another, and everything blew up. He felt so guilty about the chaos he caused that he just stayed by Stella's side to help her through it. And in doing so, he accidentally pushed me away. He looked me in the eyes and insisted that it wasn't that he didn't trust me. He said that after I left the corridor that morning, he actually tried to convince everyone that I didn't delete Stella's account, but nobody believed him. Then, when Stella showed him the note in her locker from Liam, he recognized my handwriting immediately. He got worried about what I was planning, so he followed us to the park. I stood there dazed, trying to put all the pieces together in my head. So he didn't actually turn on me. Ben smiled softly. He told me that even though I could seem cold sometimes, he knew that deep down I had a good heart. We both just stood there, feeling shy and awkward, but in a good way. So, here's the wrap-up. It turns out that when Stella went viral, some local lounge singer lost a lot of gigs because of Stella's rising popularity. That singer was actually Liam's sister, and she had convinced him to delete Stella's account for good. This guy was no joke. The nasty note, the cheerleaders in the locker room, the mic accident at the football game, he was responsible for it all. Just thinking about it gave me shivers. Luckily for me, I had managed to put my phone on record mode for the entire conversation I had with him in the park. The next day, I marched into the office and reported him to the principal with the evidence. Well, no bad deed goes unpunished, so I hope he enjoys his indefinite suspension. As for me, I'm not flying solo anymore. I actually have a real friend by my side now, Stella. She decided to log off and quit the social media game completely to focus on her singing, and honestly, she's never looked happier. And Ben, well, Ben is still Ben. He's still the same clumsy nerd. But things are different now. He doesn't look at me like a fanboy anymore. We've started hanging out ever since, and the way he looks at me now tells me that he sees the real me. I guess I realized that while having 200,000 followers looks good on a screen, having a couple of people who truly see you and have your back feels a whole lot better.